What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Big Fight Field channel where we speak the truth, we're honest, and we give our takes on professional wrestling. It is literally Monday morning, May 26th now, 2025. This is your AEW Double or Nothing review that took place on May 25th, Sunday evening, and we got a lot to talk about, man. We have a lot to talk about. It was a great show. I enjoyed it. It was very enjoyable. But you guys probably can't tell the look in my eyes. But the one criticism, okay? The one criticism I have on this show is it's too long. It's an extremely long show. 9 matches is usually 4 hours. Tonight, they went 4.5 hours. The main show started at 8 o'clock and it got over at 12:30. If you count the pre-show, that's 5.5 hours. That's 5.5 hours of professional wrestling straight through. For some people, that's a lot. It was a long night. And the last pay-per-view that AEW had, Dynasty, that I was at, there was 10 matches on the show. And the show was shorter by 10 minutes. These pay-per-views, excuse me. These pay-per-views are way too long. And Tony Khan is an absolute madman when it comes to the times with the pay-per-views, and I get it. You want to get your shit in. You want the matches to go long. Some of these matches don't need to go as long as they did. Some of the matches that were on the show could have been really good matches on Dynamite or a fun match on Collision. Like, we did not need that Don Callis family match after Anarchy in the Arena. We totally did not need that match on the show tonight. Have no idea why that match was on the show in the first place. So outside of that, the show was really good. So we'll talk about it here tonight. And I hope you guys are having a great Memorial Day weekend, man. Staying safe out there. If you're drinking this weekend, tomorrow, be responsible, but have a fucking enjoyable Memorial Day weekend, all right, ladies and gentlemen? So we are going to go ahead and we're going to dive into this, but be sure to subscribe to the channel for all the content coming up, hopefully in the summer. It is close to summer. Summer's going to get very busy, and I will try to be on here as much as possible in the summer. Because I care about you guys. And I love wrestling so much. And football season's coming around the corner too. So some fun things lined up for the future here on the Big Fight Field channel. And we also got 2 matches for the All In show coming out of tonight as well with the Owen Hart Cup winners. We had the Women's Owen Hart Cup tournament to start the show, and we had the Men's Owen Hart Cup tournament to end the show. So the first match was Jamie Hayter and Mercedes Moné. And the match was great. They absolutely had a great match. They had some rough moments in there. Don't trust me on that. Jamie Hayter had a spot outside where she was supposed to jump off the steps and hit a clothesline. She slipped. It happens. There was also a couple rough spots. I can't remember when, but there were a couple rough spots. But at the end, they had a great match. And I thought Jamie Hayter was going to win. Because winning the Owen Hart Cup tournament should benefit somebody and it should propel them to the next level. I felt like Jamie Hayter winning the Owen Hart Cup tournament would have propelled her to the next level in AEW. And instead, Tony Khan gave it to Mercedes Moné. After a roll up victory in a great match, Mercedes Moné wins the Owen. And look, I understand that the biggest match in the women's division that Tony Khan can do is Mercedes Moné against Toni Storm. 100%. That's the biggest match that AEW could do for the women's division at this big show. Biggest show for AEW in North America. Okay? But Mercedes Moné is a made woman. Mercedes Moné is the TBS champion. And now she's wrestling for the women's championship at All In. And more than likely, she's going to walk out of All In with both titles. She's going to be the TBS champion and she's going to be women's champion. So I just felt like this tournament should have been used to propel somebody to the next level, and Mercedes Moné would have been absolutely, she's bulletproof because she hasn't lost a match since coming to AEW. So she's totally bulletproof. She would have been absolutely fine if she took a loss to Jamie Hayter. She's still the TBS champion. But she won. And now she's going to All In. Challenge for the women's championship. We had FTR against Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. This is one of the matches where they could have cut a lot of time off. They could have cut a lot of time off for this match. I'm actually going to go look to see how long this match was. So here we go. Here we go. FTR against Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. This match was 22 minutes. 22 minutes. If they shaved off 8 minutes, 7 to 8 minutes, the match would have been fine. But the main problem with this match was it was too long. A lot of slow offense with Nigel. And, they looked fine. But the problem was it went on and on and on. And I'm not saying it was a bad match, but if they shaved off a couple minutes, this would have been a very good tag team match. But it was too long. And that was the problem with it. Lots of taunting to Tony Schiavone by FTR. A lot of grappling to Nigel McGuinness. Daniel Garcia did some grappling. They beat Danny Garcia by making him pass out to the sharpshooter. Nigel being held onto by Cash Wheeler. And FTR won. So that was that. Just the match was too long, man. Then we go to the stretcher match. Ricochet and Mark Briscoe. This was a really fun match. This match, I don't really understand how it came about, but at the end of the day, these guys delivered a really fun stretcher match. Lots of blood from Mark Briscoe. He is one of the most underrated wrestlers in AEW. This man cannot put on a bad match. full honesty, it is impossible for Mark Briscoe to put on a bad match. He is so freaking good. He's so good. So, early on, they're fighting near the ambulance, and Briscoe goes to push Ricochet into the ambulance, and Ricochet just jumps off the stretcher and he runs back to the ring. Full sprinting to the ring. Ricochet's a meme, man. He is an absolute meme. So that was funny. And then they're chopping it up on the outside, delivering chops to each other. Ricochet slams Briscoe onto the stretcher, and he tries to hit a he tries to hit a shooting star onto Mark Briscoe, who's laying on the stretcher, but Briscoe moves and Ricochet goes stomach first into the stretcher. Briscoe then brings out a clean bottle, and he takes the clean bottle, he sprays it onto Ricochet's head, and he starts wiping a cloth on Ricochet's head. So that was the comedy spot of the match, and the crowd started chanting Mr. Clean for Mark Briscoe. Then Ricochet takes the exposed part and he starts slamming Mark Briscoe's head into it. And this guy, Mark Briscoe, is bleeding like a pig. He's wearing a white shirt, which should have told you that he was going to be bleeding in this match for sure. He had a ton of blood. And Ricochet goes to shut the door, and Briscoe opens up a crutch, hits Ricochet in the face with the crutch, and sprays him with the fire extinguisher. This Mark Briscoe is an absolute madman. There's a table on the outside. You get a froggy bow through the table. And then Briscoe goes for something under the ring. And Ricochet hits him with the gold glasses. Not the gold glasses, I'm sorry. The gold scissors. And then he tries to hit him again, but Briscoe catches it, and he hits him back with the scissors. So Ricochet is going to the ambulance truck. And as Briscoe walks in, Ricochet conned him into it. And he hits Briscoe with another pair of golden scissors. Not once, but twice. Spirit gun, throws him onto the stretcher, gets him in the ambulance, and Ricochet wins. Ricochet wins this stretcher match, and it's a win that Ricochet needs. Ricochet is one of the best heel characters, not just in AEW, but in professional wrestling in general right now. And going into tonight, he has yet to win a match on AEW pay-per-view since he's been in AEW. So, him winning this match tonight, him winning this match tonight was the right move. So, it's a big win, and we'll see what happens next for Ricochet, man, because he has been killing it as a heel. We had AEW Tag Team Championships, Hurt Syndicate coming out with MJF, who's now officially in the group, against Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. Very good match. Very good tag team title match. Story was very simple. MJF, is he going to fuck over the Hurt Syndicate? Is he going to help them? He tried to help them. Bobby told Shelton not to use the ring. There are some conflictions with MJF and the Hurt Syndicate. But as MJF was getting in Bobby's way, Bobby speared Dustin Rhodes through the barricade, dabbed up MJF, and the Hurt Syndicate retained the tag team titles. Match was very good, and obviously it shouldn't happen now, but eventually MJF is going to turn on the Hurt Syndicate, and we're going to get MJF against Bobby Lashley. I don't know if that's going to happen at All In now, because it would be way too soon to turn MJF on the Hurt Syndicate, because he just joined the group. So, somebody else is going to have to benefit from this storyline. And that somebody else is going to be whoever takes the tag team titles off of the Hurt Syndicate. And Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, they're already Ring of Honor tag team champions. So they don't need that. They don't need the rub from the Hurt Syndicate. I don't know who it's going to be. There's clearly one tag team left, and that tag team is FTR. That's the clear indicator of a tag team to take the titles from the Hurt Syndicate. And there's a lot of TV specials coming up for AEW in the month of June. So maybe then they're going to beat the FTR are going to beat the Hurt Syndicate for the tag team titles. Mike Bailey and Okada for the Continental Championship. This match was awesome. I will say in the beginning, the first half of the match was very lackadaisical from Okada. And then in the second half, it's like Speedball brung out the best of Okada, because we saw a totally different version of Okada in the second half of this match. And in the beginning, I'm like, there's absolutely no way in hell I would have ever thought that Speedball Mike Bailey is carrying a match against Kazuchika Okada. And here we are. Mike Bailey carried the match. But that was in the beginning. In the second half, Okada was Okada. And Okada was amazing. And that freaking drop kick when Bailey went for the double knee, oh my goodness. That was a thing of beauty. Into the Rainmaker, and Okada retains the Continental Championship, setting up his eventual date with Kenny Omega at All In. Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa for the Women's Championship. Good match, but I don't know. I honestly didn't care that much about it, so it was a fine match. Toni Storm retained as obvious, and now she goes into All In against Mercedes Moné. And now it's time for Anarchy in the Arena. And we have Team AEW of Swerve, Willow Nightingale, Samoa Joe, Shibata, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Kenny Omega against the opposing team, the Death Riders. That's Moxley, Claudio, Wheeler Yuta, Marina Shafir, and the Young Bucks. So I expected full chaos in this match, and that's exactly what we got. I would say that last year's match might have been better. It's really hard to compare the two. But this match was so freaking amazing. It was so wild. They kept me on the edge of my seat the whole match. And it was breathtaking stuff. So we have everybody's out. They're playing this patriotic music for the Young Bucks. Your founding fathers. They come out with patriotic flags. Justin Roberts is saying something from the Declaration of Independence to make it sound like it's written from the Young Bucks, which is hilarious. And then in the beginning, they're playing this Declaration of Independence theme, and they have a 4 split screen camera of Willow Nightingale and Marina Shafir, which Marina Shafir gives Willow a suplex onto the barricade. Samoa Joe is outside with Claudio. Moxley is brawling with Powerhouse Hobbs, and I can't remember what the other one is, but Marina hits a suplex onto the barricade to Willow Nightingale, and she flips off the crowd. We then change the body to I'm so excited. And then we go from I'm so excited because that doesn't fit the vibe to let the bodies hit the floor. And we heard that song for about 10 freaking minutes. And they do it every year. But this year, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It fit the match. It fit the vibe of it. There's 12 people in this match. You got Moxley being an absolute madman, jamming a fork into Powerhouse Hobbs. Swerve is with Matt Jackson. Claudio is still with Samoa Joe. It's just chaos all over the place. And then you have Hobbs throwing Wheeler Yuta off the scaffold. Or not the scaffold. And then Kenny Omega, he hits a moonsault onto security and onto Wheeler Yuta and onto Claudio. And Moxley's there. Sick stuff, man. Sick stuff. Samoa Joe has a trash can lid. He hits it over the head with Claudio. So it's absolute madness. Powerhouse Hobbs spears Moxley through a table. Crowd erupts in cheer. The song is still playing. We have the ladies, Willow and Marina Shafir, in the parking lot, and Willow is taking beer bottles and smashing them over the head to Marina Shafir, and Marina got some blood from that, so that looked devastating. Backstage, we got Shibata and Wheeler Yuta. Shibata wraps barbed wire around his foot to kick Wheeler Yuta right in the chest. We got the party pooper, Claudio, sees the music box after he uppercuts Swerve, starts swinging Swerve around, and then proceeds to throw Swerve into the music box where they were playing Bodies Hit the Floor, and that's the end of the music. Claudio broke it, and then Hobbs spears Claudio through a couple crates. And then somehow, Willow Nightingale is locked to the ring post with a chain on her ear. Disgusting. We get a Young Bucks drop kick to the back to Kenny Omega into a table spot on the outside. And we get a Tony Khan driver onto Shibata on the outside as well from the EVPs. There's a table on the outside. Nick Jackson goes for a swanton. And I swear to God, this reminds me of Jeff Hardy. Because when Jeff Hardy would do a swanton at his age, in his old age, his legs would be across the partner's chest and his back of the head would always bounce against the mat. And it looked scary. That's what happened to Nick Jackson here. His legs were across Hobbs' chest, but his freaking head bounced off the floor. And that looked brutal. That looked like a brutal spot. And we have a EVP trigger coming up to Hobbs. But not so fast, says Swerve. He comes in with a freaking forklift and hits a Swerve stomp onto both EVPs, Matt and Nick. Hobbs is there, celebrating with Swerve that we got to get the guys back in the ring. Then we are back in the ring, and Willow and Hobbs are taking care of they're taking care of business, and then we get the staple gun, and Swerve's staple gun, and he staple guns Moxley in the chest, and he staple guns Wheeler Yuta in the stomach, and then he gets Claudio, and he staple guns him right in the chest. Or right on the forehead, I'm sorry, which was a funny spot. And then Matt Jackson comes in, raises up his staple gun, like he's about to staple gun Swerve, and Swerve just goes like, boop, right to the balls. Right freaking to the balls. And then Marina Shafir, she gets the staple gun from Swerve. And staple guns his tongue. Like what? How absolutely diabolical is that? So then we get more guys around. And here comes Gabe Kidd with the briefcase. Hits Hobbs. Hits Shibata. Hits Swerve. And everybody starts chanting for Eddie. Chanting Eddie, Eddie, Eddie. Because they want the return of Eddie Kingston. Because it's been over a year since he broke his fibula against Gabe Kidd. We did not get that. We did not get Eddie Kingston tonight. But Gabe Kidd is at the ambulance. And who comes flying off the stage but Mark Briscoe, who's still in his bloody shirt from earlier. So we get him and we get Gabe Kidd going back and forth at it. And Swerve then, they're around the ambulance and everybody is ganging up on the Death Riders. And they close the Death Riders into that ambulance. And it's now 6-on-2, 7-on-2, with the baby faces against Swerve, the baby faces against the Young Bucks. And we get a combination of the V-Trigger into the House Call. And then we get One Winged Angel through a flaming... hold on, what was it? We get a One Winged Angel through an exploding table. And then we get the Swerve Stomp with freaking spikes, thumbtacks, underneath Swerve's shoes. This match was amazing. Breathtaking stuff. It was personally my favorite match of the night. And yes, that match deserves 5 stars. As does the main event. Adam Page and Will Ospreay. I'm not going to go over it move by move because of how tired I am, but the match was absolutely fantastic. They told a great story of the redemption of Hangman Page and the ascension of Will Ospreay. During the match, Ospreay was acting a little bit heelish, which had me believing that Hangman was going to win. And that's what happened. Hangman won after like 3 buckshots in a row. Ospreay gave him his best, but Hangman is superior at the end. He's going to All In, and your main event at All In is Hangman Adam Page and Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. Does Hangman Page complete his redemption arc? I honestly don't know. Darby Allin is back. He has completed Mount Everest. AEW and Tony Khan can easily be like, you know what? We didn't expect Darby to be done as quickly as he was. we're going to do this match, but we are going to stick to the plan of Darby Allin taking that title from Moxley. And they can do it whenever. They can wait till All Out. They can wait till Wrestle Dream. If they do that in Seattle again, they have all the time. And with Darby being done Mount Everest as quickly as he would, which, by the way, is an absolute amazing accomplishment for him, Hangman might not get this job done at All In. I think he should, but it is not a guarantee, folks. It is not a guarantee that Hangman Page is going to win at All In. So, we'll see what happens. Great show tonight, but very long at the end of it. So, I'm getting out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the Big Fight Field channel. Hit the like button if you like what you heard from me. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Colin_Joseph. And I'll see you guys in the next video, okay? Have a good night. Stay safe. And as always, stay classy and love wrestling. Peace.